In today's episode, I need you to be done by 10 p.m. The one where I was paid almost 3 months just for walking. Why do you hire an expert if you don't want to listen to him? So let's get started. I need you to be done by 10 p.m. Context. I used to work at a Kroger deli when I was 19, this would have been 2009. I think I made it 6 months there before they forced me out. That's a longer story with no MC in it, unfortunately. This specific Kroger had the bakery, the fried chicken station, and the deli under one section. In this store we had a 3-tiered management system for hourlies. There was your department lead, the supervisor, the manager. The way it's supposed to work is that supervisors and managers report any sort of problems with the hourlies to the department lead, and they take it up with them, unless it's something serious. So that way, if either the manager or supervisor are confused about a certain procedure, the lead can explain it to them without the hourly getting needlessly harassed. So I worked second shift, and I mostly maintained the fried chicken area, because I was the only one on second shift who actually enjoyed doing it. Closing down the department started between 9 and 9:30 and took around 3.5 hours. It would take closer to an hour and a half if the morning shifters would do their closing routines for the shift change, but they didn't, and we get left with AF*CK load of extra work and AF*CK load of dishes. Didn't really bother me, I was young and the overtime pay was welcome. Didn't really do anything else with my time anyways. Now some bonus context, Kroger is unionized, and they had this: if you work over a certain amount of hours in a 6-week period you're immediately full-time with benefits, and they wanted as little full-time employees as possible. So normally I'd get weeks where I only work one day, because of the extra 3 hours we end up being there. This particular set of weeks we had 2 people quit, and the newbies brought in to replace them were fired. One called off because she got her wisdom teeth removed, and they fired her for that. Shameless, so I landed myself in a precarious position where I was about to be given full-time, but they really didn't want me to. So my manager pulls me aside and says, "Hey, you guys gotta stop messing around back there. You take way too long to close and we're starting to get corporate breathing down our necks." After explaining our situation, and how we literally do almost all of morning shifts work throughout the day, I was told that if I couldn't get the work done on time then I wouldn't be working here. Now this is a big no-no for 2 reasons. 1, as stated above, manager and supervisor are not supposed to interact with hourlies as they generally have no idea what our job entails. I've been written up for not filling empty slots of the packaged cold chicken items when none were made for me by the morning shift. They took 8 hours to properly prepare. Reason 2 is that you do not threaten your employees, especially the ones who comply maliciously. 10 p.m. is my new designated out time. The chicken station worker is the last out because cleaning a rotisserie oven is a big fat bitch, but even still the other 2 stations don't finish up until 11:30ish. After we close at 9 and I reveal to my cohorts that I have been instructed to leave at 10 lest I get full-time and the wrath of management. The other 2 start to be *TCH about having to finish my work when I intercept them with "No, those aren't your responsibilities. After I leave it's morning shift's problem." They can be *TCH to the manager if they have a problem with how I leave it. And that's exactly how it goes. Manager comes down to me telling me about morning shift's complaints about the condition of the kitchen, asking me why it was left like that. To which I explained that my newly defined curfew that he had issued caused me to miss a few things. I was written up and I kept doing it and kept getting written up until getting fired for completely unrelated reasons. I would start a whole new 6-week rotation and still leave exactly at 10 p.m. Kitchen AF*King mess. Same excuse every time. Even though he personally told me not to leave until the kitchen was clean again, I left at 10 p.m. I complied too hard that it became a no taxis backsies situation. The one where I was paid almost 3 months just for walking. It's been a while, but I never really told anyone, and it turns out I'm still kinda pissed about it, so be warned it'll be a bit ranty. Context. I was working short-term contracts via an agency at the time to experience different fields in the cash, while I looked for something more permanent. First contact. I got this one contract at a health center. I show up on my first day and have a hard time getting a hold of my new boss, so I just wait around awkwardly, asking around for her. When I finally meet her, she's a stressed person, constantly walking and talking fast and barely listening. I ask what work I'm supposed to do, but she says she has no time for me, so she gives me a stack of papers and asks me to make as many copies as possible. The social workers use them all the time, and we can literally never have too many. I don't even have the time to wonder if I have any questions that she's gone. The copies are bad, some are faded, others are poorly cropped. I track down the originals or the earliest copies possible to improve the quality of the booklets as much as possible and make a shitload of copies. It is mind-numbing work and I am bored out of my mind. After over 60 of copying the same shit, I was brain dead inside and quite frankly kinda miserable. They stacked up at first, but it turns out it was because the social workers did know they could use them. They didn't want to steal someone else's stuff. So when I explained I was filling my time with that while my real job was explained to me, and that these copies were free for all, they were ecstatic and grateful. The good news spread and rose like bubbles in a freshly poured beer, and the mood was awesome. It made my mental misery and countless paper cuts worthwhile. The actual job. That ended when my boss finally took the time to explain the project she had actually hired me for. The health center wanted to maximize the use of the meeting rooms and needed me to watch how they were being used. She wanted to know when people got in and out of the rooms and what they were using them for. This was to track the downtimes and maybe even rent out some meeting rooms to outsiders. I asked how exactly I was supposed to do that since I couldn't be in 3 different floors at the same time and watch them from end to another among multiple corridors. She said she didn't know and to figure it out, and she ignored me and walked out on me. I was dumbfounded. But I complied. I honestly still have no idea how I was supposed to accomplish that. The best solution I found was to walk all the corridors in a loop. One loop took roughly 8 to 13 minutes, 13 when I started, 8 as I built cardio and muscles. I took a few minutes break so each loop started every 20 minutes. That way I'd have an idea of the room usage. I intended to eventually compile the information on the computer, likely my personal one since I had no equipment assigned to me. The compliance. So for months I walked. I was used to desk jobs. My feet at first were swollen and everything hurt. I was tired, dead tired, when I finished work. But that was actually the upside. I had never had such nice legs and booty. I became fitter and my pants looked really good on me. The downside was that it created a hostile work environment. The health workers using the rooms felt hawked and watched. To them, I was basically a spy from management. I had their names and activities with time logs and room numbers. You couldn't tell easily if a room was in usage, so I literally had to bend over to see if there were feet inside via the non-glazed portions of the glass panes when there were any. I couldn't always tell who had used what room. It was hell. Everyone hated me. I became depressed. There was no one I could talk to. My boss basically ignored and avoided me, and she was my only point of contact. I tried to be friendly and nice, but I was still pretty much just hated. I made the mistake of reading an article on the Palestine and Israel conflict, something I knew little about at the time. Since I couldn't finish the article in one go, I left the newspaper open on that page while I hurried through my round, and when I came back, a doctor was upset and crying, saying something about how it was on purpose since the newspaper was open on that page. I have no idea why it was wrong to read a newspaper article, and I was already hated, so I just walked away bewildered. The following day, my only comfort at work disappeared. It was a tiny teaspoon beautifully decorated that had accompanied me throughout my university years. It was a source of comfort to me, like a teddy bear or a warm blanket in that cold place where I didn't belong and wasn't welcome. I was so upset. I literally made wanted/lost posters and still no one ever gave it back. I had stupidly ran out of time after drinking my coffee and left it in my mug while I hurriedly made a round. In the few minutes I was gone, it had disappeared. Honestly, I missed being chained to the photocopy machine at that point. At least people actually appreciated what I did back then, and I was liked, not hated. The fallout. Mercifully, I found a permanent job downtown with very good conditions, so I gave my notice, at which point my boss finally made time for me. I could almost swear she had been avoiding me until then, and any interaction was cut short by her mumbling something or other without paying attention to what I was saying and fast walking away. So anyway, at this point, she asked to see what I'd done. I explained my reasoning and showed her my piles of data accumulated for almost 3 months by then. She was shocked. "This is useless," she said. I wanted to smirk. I wanted to roll my eyes. Honestly, what did she expect? She wasn't wrong though. It was useless data. Columns and columns of data coded in simple letters and scribbled notes. Completely unreliable, since even as I was taking the notes I had no way of confirming if anyone was really in the room or not. "Well, this is the best I could do with the resources and guidance I was given," I said and shrugged. Not my problem. Honestly. I just wanted out. She was shocked and angry, and I didn't give a shit. I had been paid to walk 8 hours a day. My very presence made everyone hate management. I was never so happy to leave a job. Things were looking up. I never looked back. I still hate that place. A social worker there stole my custom-ordered books from Japan. She never answered my calls when I tried to reach her about it. She had an address where she could drop them and multiple phone numbers she could use to reach me. All that info I had also taped inside the books. She just ignored me and kept them, even though she said she didn't like them. WTF. I was young, dumb and naive. I believed her to be trustworthy because of her job and the impression she gave off. Much regrets were had. My Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind collection remains pilfered to this day. Fuck that place. But hey. Got fit, got paid, and F***ked over the hated management. I'd have left with my middle fingers held up if I didn't have a bunch of bags and bus pass to carry. Why do you hire an expert if you don't want to listen to him? I actually wasn't planning on posting another story so soon, but you/bitch mob throwaways reaction triggered me to post another so soon. I used to work in a technical service business to consumer company. I just transferred from my old company to my new company because of my expertise in phone number portability. My new company used a different system to preform that task than my old company, but I already had a pretty well idea of how thing could be organized, since I had some experience already, even though I moved from the mobile market to the landline market. I needed to reduce the FTE in the process of incoming new customers and leaving customers from about 60 FTE working on that process over different regions to whatever I could. Also, about the time I came into the company was going through a big reconciliation process, since it consisted of merger onto merger onto merger of different companies with all different CRMs, network provisioning, network management systems and so on. The only thing they were not able to integrate was the system that would meet the regulatory required number portability process. We were consistently not meeting lawful requirements, and even were penalized for not meeting these requirements. Hence here I am. I already have a functional architecture in my head, drawn up during my previous job, where it was deemed not feasible, which I heavily contested. My idea was that the process was initiated with an order through a CRM application, supported by billing systems, provisioning systems, the IN, and thus the HLR's Intelligent Network and Home Location Register for all non-telco readers, which are key components in this process chain. That basic process architecture was under development, however, without all the exceptions of the number portability process, which I handed them on a gold platter. Unfortunately, I was hired about 1 month late, since the design had already been approved and didn't any integration of phone number portability, which was at that moment about 90% of customer growth. So the developers came up with a genius design to create something that was called Need to Do, that is not the real name of the object, but if I mention the real name some people might get an idea which company. especially when I mention the bottleneck later on. Every action that one of the agents working on number portability had to perform was marked by such a need-to-do notification, which would be put into a queue. And there were many steps in process, combined with the exponential growth of the number of new customers. The need-to-do tasks were just simply too much to keep track of. Since for every new customer there would be about 8 new tasks, and we would get in on the heydays about 20,000 new customers a month. However, all those agents previously were working on a standalone system for that process, so their focus was on that system, because there was where the real workload was. I could confirm that, since in my previous company I missed about 12,000 orders, due to faulty registration and relying on a paper trail instead of computers. So our CRM system, which was also our main order entry system, soon got flooded with those need-to-do tasks, which were some kind of mini trouble tickets with lawfully assigned resolution times. Needless to say that matching orders with customers was difficult, but these need-to-do tickets were creating increasing alarms, since they went overdue, for which I warned the design team already. So my assignment was to clear the more than 1 million items of backlog in items. Which I did, and here comes the malicious compliance. So I requested the items to be closed in batch, which I knew could be done, since I had seen the database, I had seen the tables they were in, and I had seen there was a label called status, which could be updated in a single update status. That was not possible, I was told. I even executed the script I had written myself on a test environment, and surprise, surprise, it worked. But no is no, so I went about searching for another solution, which I found. Closing each task, thus removing it from the system and removing the alarms that were flooding the system, meant opening each item, clicking on closed, click on next and go into the queue to open the next item, for which we had no staff. Since the amount of backlog already accumulated over 1,000,000 items, and we actually didn't have enough staff to perform the day-to-day requests of number portability. So I used another solution, an automated mouse clicker, mouse tamer for the early 2000 geeks, to do that task. I would arrive around 7 a.m. at work, turn on about 6 desktops of my colleagues' initiated mouse tamer, and I had some coffee. My colleagues knew what I was doing, so they let my scripts run for as long as they possibly could, before initiating their job. Unfortunately, some really genius of an architect decided that all system actions had to be executed and queued through one single table. Let's call the table exploding_table, which is actually not far from the real name of that table, which didn't have a destructive red. And every closure of one single need-to-do item created 6 entries into that table. In the beginning, my solution worked like a charm. However, with the regular amount of orders and also very simple actions would fill up the table with anywhere between 4 to 10 new items. After about 2 weeks into my cleanup project, about 10 a.m. our CRM would die, wouldn't be available for at least about 3 hours, and over the next week every day it died about 5 minutes earlier every day, and the outage lasted longer. Finally, it was discovered that the exploding_tab was overflowing with all my actions I initiated before 8 a.m. when business opened. After discovering the issue, I had to stop doing what I was doing, even though I was threatened to be held accountable for the backlog and need-to-do tickets, not requested by me, even to which I advised against. I could prove that by email. So I told them that either the next release they could close my need-to-do tickets in batch, or I would continue executing my job. They choose for the first option using my script, and I even wasn't a DBA. Ha, victory! If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.